Sony saves the date for more Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man has still not received an invitation. And Disney makes a full lap on the Circle of Life. Yeah. And, of course, more Ruby on the first word. Breaking this down for you in more something, Fandom nonsense. Coming up next. No, there's really, genuinely not that much. I'm looking here, exclusive preview, Fantastic Four, number 4 introduces the Fantastics. As the Fantastic Four say goodbye to some of their closest friends, a rival group of superheroes emerges in the Fantastic Four's old headquarters. If you want me to go on, it's gonna cost $1.99. Okay, so The Lion King.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Sequoia.
Okay, so it's a shot-for-shot remake, but I had the same. It's like it's a shot-for-shot remake, and it especially tells with James Earl Jones since it's the same actor. Like, the delivery feels off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I've actually especially noticed that with Vader, since he still does all the voice acting for that. Like, I mean, yeah, it's just voice acting, but you can kind of tell that he's getting up there in age, and even that's kind of starting to show on him. Like, he's not really delivering, and I was kind of worried about that with Mufasa. Like, of course, no one else could play Mufasa, but if they were going to do that, then they should have done this 10 years ago, I think.
I don't know why I'd want to do a shot-for-shot remake anyway. Because it seems like it's just, inevitably, they're just going to compare it to the original, and it's going to be worse. Because it's not going to have that initial feel of, like, how can you can't make, they're just resigning themathemselves to it not being a better product. Because, like, you can't do a shot-for-shot remake that is better than the original. Thematically, like, you can't tell a better story if it's the same exact story.
Right.
Like, how... Sure, it can look better, it can sound better. Even if that is all true, it's not going to be anything as impactful as the original Lion King.
I mean,
Maybe it's just like it's just a salute to it, it seems like. Just, like, updating it for a new generation. But even that feels like cold, emotionless, like, reintroduction of something that hasn't aged enough to really be out of vogue.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like, just because, like, Disney has just sworn off traditional animation like a fucking cardinal sin or something doesn't mean that everyone else in the world looks at it with the same disdain and like displeasure that they do. Like,
yeah, ever since they acquired Pixar, even before that, once they started competing with Pixar.
2011's Winnie the Pooh was the last traditional full-length animated feature from Disney. And before that, it was The Princess and the Frog, which came out when I was working at Cinemark, if I remember right.
Awesome.
Yeah. I did not get to screen that one, and I had I still have not seen it. I need to. I need to watch that.
It's good. It's good.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a big fan of Disney and that kind of stuff anyway.
Oh,
so.
Same. I have.
Were you completely off camera?
Not completely off, just a little to the side. It's okay. Oh yeah. Welcome to Fandom Nonsense. I'm Zach.
I'm Nolan.
That's Serena.
Also.
We're gonna make her. Aaron's dead.
Aaron is dead.
Send him your best wishes.
Right. We'll try to resurrect him next time, but
We'll see.
We'll see how far up he can crawl out of his grave.
If you can get 100 subscribers to this channel, then Aaron will miraculously rise from the dead.
It's on you. Can you live with that blood on your hands?
He tried.
Yeah, that's okay.
But back on the Lion King.
Back on the Lion King.
What are your thoughts?
I very much agree with you that I don't see the point in a shot-for-shot remake. But even if it's Favreau, and I'm sure it'll be shot well. I'm sure that the acting will be done well enough. That was
That's
you.
me.
I felt closer. But I just don't see the point, and it feels like a disingenuous money grab that also serves the purpose of kind of whitewashing history. You know what I mean? Like, no, we don't talk about the old Jungle Book. Like, that's like, you know, like it's the new Jungle Book, and that's fair. Like, I honestly thought that, if I remember right, I honestly thought that the way that they did the ending in the movie, yeah, because he doesn't go after the girl in the Favreau movie, does he?
Does he?
I don't think so.
What happens at the end? I saw that in theaters, and I cannot remember how it ended.
Seen either?
You ever seen either Jungle Book?
I don't think so.
Oh my god.
Damn.
I have the real one.
Mowgli.
Like, I think I've seen half of the original, but I don't think I've ever seen the end.
It's like you've just been out in the jungle, just not even being a part of society.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think it suffers from the same. The hinge between the second and third act in a lot of Disney movies, especially post-Walt Disney movies, is very, very weak. And I think that the Jungle Book suffers from that a lot. Like, it starts really, really strong, and it has a good climax. In the latter half of the middle, it's kind of like, oh, okay, it's like, it kind of like loses its threads a little bit and kind of goes all over the place. Oh, like I said, a lot of Disney movies after Walt died kind of seem to suffer from that.
In The Lion King, you might consider it his time with Timon and Pumbaa.
See, I think that actually...
I think
that one... The Renaissance movies do that a lot better. Like, they understand, like, those kind of dynamic flows of story a lot better than the older movies did.
I feel like they generally take that time to, like, really heavy, like, hand in the comedic relief and just, you know, kind of let the plot simmer.
Mm-hmm. Focus more on character for a minute. Yeah.
Reveal motivations through less conflict so that you can get, like, more of their subtle flavors before the actual climax.
But like with the Jungle Book, the Jungle Book is a good movie, but it's not a gold standard of Disney animation. Like, there's a lot of really cheap reused shots in it.
Oh, for sure.
So I mean, I can see how. Like, I wouldn't be the one that I'd choose. If I was going to pick one, I'd pick something like The Black Cauldron or The Sword in the Stone, like a good movie that really got overlooked in its time.
Yeah.
But also not call a CGI movie live action.
Yeah, that too. We'll get to that. But The Lion King, though, like, arguably the best animated movie of all time, in some lists the best movie of all time.
Yeah.
And it's only been 25 or 4 years or something like that, and you're going to remake it the same way, even using some of the same actors. And as you said, now Favreau said that there's a lot of live action scenery that's enhanced by CGI, but how much is it enhanced? Like, are we just like shooting on a blank African plain and like just
throw some lines in there
and just filling everything in? Like, because I need to see some fucking some pictures from a goddamn Polaroid to show me there's anything in Africa that looks like Pride Rock, because I don't believe that. Whatever.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Little
Maybe
fuzzy potato.
they just brought a bunch of rocks into Africa. They flew them in, dug them up from a quarry, just recreated the set.
Yeah.
It's cost effective, it's
not?
fun, and it's a great way to stay in shape.
It's just,
Told me.
my problem, I don't care if, I mean, I would much prefer it if they were actually using, like, trained lions. Like, go the Gordy route. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see some, like,
Mr. Ed shit.
yeah, I just want to see just a lion wanting to be anywhere else with just the worst fucking,
Contempt.
fucking lip flaps just forced onto him. That I can buy that, but I'll accept whatever they're going to throw at me. My problem with the movie is, as you said, you're telling the same story, and even if you frame it differently and you don't do it shot for shot and you look at and you change things up, that to me is honestly worse. Like, I think that it's better when they do things like Maleficent or Christopher Robin, and they look at a story from a different angle, a different character, a different time period, and use a world we're familiar with and tell a new story. Like, and you can tell it in a more modern way. Like, I'd love to see what happened whenever Scar and Mufasa were growing up, although we've gotten a lot of that in comic and animation and everything. I'd love to see the Pride Lands during the Matata sequence. You know,
Yeah,
like whenever when Simba's gone and Scar's running shit. Like, I'd love to see the fall of the Pride Lands. Like, that would be, and maybe we'll get that in this. And if we do, I will give praise to actually showing a different side of the movie than we got. But from the trailer, my suspicions are only heightened that it's just going to be the same movie over again with enough changes to call it a different movie, but most of those being boring aesthetic things that, like, I don't think that you can, especially with animals, the expression that traditional animation allows gets you a lot further than keeping it true to life. Like, the Jungle Book had a child to interact with.
Right.
You know, so not having any human reference, I think, is going to be very, very off-putting. It's going to be very hard to straddle that line of making them emote without any kind of human to reference against, and also not crossing into the uncanny valley area.
I wonder how them speaking is going to seem. I mean, we see it in the trailer, just a touch. Kind of.
I mean, I didn't watch the trailer. I just saw how cute and cuddly Simba looked as a baby.
Fair enough.
And was sold.
Okay. Well, just look up cat videos then. Why are you going to the movies to see a fucking...
I probably won't go to the movie to see this, but...
Oh, alright.
I have Dandy to...
You said you were sold!
To see the movie in general.
Okay.
And we'll talk about Spider-Man in a minute, but for now, here's the first word. And welcome to the first word. Another lighter episode. In duration.
I mean, and it seemed lighthearted in parts as compared to the other ones that we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a cute Ruby moment, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Been few and far between on those.
Yeah.
I love Ruby so much.
I've really been loving Ruby this volume. The interaction with Weiss was really, really great. And actually, like, seeing her have some awareness of Crow's problem.
Yeah.
Which the preview for next week's on Ruby Rewind today really kind of drives that home. Like, Crow is drinking and morose, and apparently he found the liquor cabinet after all. Not sponsored by McDonald's, by the way.
Yeah, when that first came on, I wasn't sure what Ruby was talking about when maybe we should leave this room locked up after Raw. And then she mentioned her uncle, and I was like, what's she on about? Like, why? And then I didn't realize till they opened the liquor room and said more liquor that it's because he's an alcoholic.
Yeah. Poor Crow.
Yeah, I didn't really see the death flags as much in Volume 4, like when he got attacked by Tyrion. I knew he'd make it out of that. Right. I'm not so sure this time around. I'm not sure he's going to make it to the end of this one.
I'm not sure either. Having his semblance just seems like it's a tax on you. And like all this shit just keeps piling on. I mean, once he reached adolescence, he probably just had to confront the fact, oh, my life is going to be terrible.
Right. I liked how Blake had actually interactions with everybody on the team this episode, but especially
her Yang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a heavy moment of her, like, kind of assuming that. Well, I feel like there were a couple things going on there. Like, one, Blake is trying to reassure Yang, but when she says, "I'll be there to protect you," it insults Yang, clearly, because Yang doesn't want to feel like she has to be protected, especially by the people she cares about, too.
Right.
You know, she just wants to be considered being in the same fight, like, not handicapped, like, they're not just all in there together to, like, give it what they can. She just doesn't happen to have a fucking arm anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And she was holding her handicapped her metal arm when she said, "I'll protect you."
Yeah, and that was also pretty...
Gay.
Yeah. I mean, I think she should have been holding her human hand, shouldn't she have? Like, can she feel that? Like...
That's
like
actually a great question.
Yeah,
I'm sure she has.
Because I think they said that like it's super high tech. Someone in Atlas made it.
Right.
And I don't know whether or not he said that like it was the nerve endings were there for it.
Oh well, she definitely has feeling in it. Like she can feel it, but like how it's probably not sensitive like the way a hand is. You know what I mean?
I don't know, like because at least in our world, that's one of the driving points of prosthetics is how like tactile and how sensitive they are. So you'd think that highly advanced prosthetics like Star Wars, obviously they're like point for point,
right.
It's basically a hand. So you just
it's the whole not having skin on it thing. It's the only thing I can think of because it just looks like a plate there. Like well, I mean, you could have like sensors on the plate.
No, you're right, but
it'd be different than like it being skin. Like having interstitial strength.
I think like if we knew more about like Penny's design as well, since I think like that would help us know more about what kind of thing that we're dealing with.
That's true.
What else happened this episode? Oh fuck! Cinder versus Neo.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was a great fight.
That was one of the best fights we've seen since Owen was gone, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly... And maybe it's because I know too much. Like, I see the similarities. There's a lot of shots that are shot for shot from when Monty was working on RVB that are used in Ruby. Like, Monty's fucking great. I'm not putting Monty down at all. But he has a certain style, and it's mainly about cutting corners and efficiency.
Yeah.
That I love his big epic fights, but I'm honestly, and it's just my personality, I'm just a bigger fan of the more one-on-one fights that we get.
The more martial artsy of it than like the power scaling explosion type shit.
Like I genuinely think that the off topic, but I really think that the original trilogy fights are better than the prequel fights. I think the new ones are better because they're framed better, but I think that the old, more samurai style fights are actually more engaging than the acrobatic
Yoda versus
You-
Dooku.
Yeah. But anyway, that's sidebar. But yeah, no, that was a really really great fight, and the confirmation that Neo's a mute was well done.
Yeah.
I like that. Aaron brought up like, why is Neo here, and that's a good question. But I think that any villain or antagonist you can introduce, or any character you can introduce that's not directly tied to either Ozpin or Salem, is good for the story, because it makes the world wider and not everything just being from this narrow tunnel vision of these two perspectives.
Right.
Like, I doubt Neo, because I doubt fucking Torchwick knew anything about Salem, because he was on a need-to-know basis.
Right.
So I'm sure Neo, as his subordinate, didn't know anything about her. So she doesn't give a fuck about any of that stuff. She seemed very taken aback when Cinder used the maiden powers.
Right. Yeah. You could tell she hadn't confronted anything like that.
Right. So her only goal is getting revenge for Torchwick.
Right.
And you have to interpret her through her actions and through other people's perception of her, because she can't talk. So that makes her an interesting character to follow.
Yeah, she kind of just has to communicate through this vaudeville kind of miming.
Yeah.
Like this overblown gestural language she has. Yeah.
I like her as a character because, like, I just assume she's going to be manipulative, and then when something doesn't happen the way I expect it to, because you don't know what she's saying, you don't know what her actual intentions are. You just know how other people perceive her. It's just like, is this actually going to go that way? Like, or is it going to...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much this episode. Before we...
I mean, are we going to talk about the kind of Day 5-esque town that they're living in?
Oh, right. Shit. Oh.
Everybody's getting tired, and...
Yeah.
You could tell, like, Ruby's eyes are starting to droop there at the end, and Weiss as well. Well, she outwardly said she was tired,
Yeah,
much like Yang.
Yeah. Yang and Weiss both said they were tired.
Blake hasn't, though.
Blake and Ruby haven't, have
Right.
they? Yeah. Getting back to Blake and Ruby, I really liked, because they're my favorite members on the team, and them both being the more tactically driven of the team. I enjoy when they actually, like, them by the fireplace, like, actually talking about stuff as in that kind of context, because there's really not much Ruby and Blake interaction throughout the show. But yeah, did the people die in their sleep? What's in that fucking cellar?
Yeah. Do you think it's like I bet it's like some kind of sleep grim that's like pulling them into this like dream world, or just straight up killing them when they fall asleep.
See, the old lady, like, I don't know why, the fact that she said, you guys do that while I look for a bedtime story.
Yeah.
That seemed a little...
No, she definitely gave off some weird vibes this episode.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, the fact that she phrased it that way is kind of, I don't know, the fact that she was doing that at all is pretty upsetting.
She searched through all the books. She pulled out, I don't know if this is going to be relevant, she pulled out one that said I on it. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's going to come back.
Well, was it a 1 or an I?
I think it's supposed to be a 1.
Right.
It might be.
Yeah.
Like a Roman numeral.
Yeah.
So, and spoilers for anyone who doesn't have first, because, well, actually, in general, because I don't think the episode's out yet for you guys, but we're going to talk about the preview for next week's episode that was on Ruby Rewind. So, what's her name? Maria is reading everybody a story, and Ruby's looking around for something, probably Crow, and she finds Crow fucking hunched down on the floor with a bottle next to him, and like, are you okay? And yeah, sure. Like, storm's getting better. We can probably leave here in the morning. Like, okay. Are you sure you're okay? Oh yeah, I'm great. Blah 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 blah. And Crow's like, you guys get some sleep. I'll wake you up. And then Ruby walks away. He takes a drink, and that's the end of it. So
if there is a sleep, Grim,
yeah,
he's about to pass out from boozing.
Yeah.
So maybe something bad's gonna happen.
I feel like
It's Crow to die before they meet back up with Team Juniper is gonna wreck Ruby, I think.
Yeah, I think that Crow is going to die because of that reason, because it's going to wreck Ruby.
I know eventually, but I was hoping Team Juniper would there, so...
Sooner than later, but I do agree that they'll probably meet up with them. I'm not sure how far... We don't know that Juniper made it to Atlas or Argus, or how far Ruby is from their destination.
That's very true.
Like, we could be meeting up with them very soon. I mean, they have scrolls. They could call for them. They could encounter something that's too big for them to handle. They could bring them back
whenever
there.
they were on the top of the trains, it showed Nora's signal fleeting.
Yeah. That's true. I wonder if that's short range, though, because they've called each other from longer distances than that before. Like in the earlier volumes.
I mean, maybe they've just been playing off of the Atlas Towers that were by.
That's possible. That's true.
I want to see what Juniper's doing. I'm very curious by now. It seems like it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Thought we would have at least gotten a shot.
Just
I think what they're doing is important if it's not being shown already,
You think it's going to change something?
I think it'll be some course correction they need to do whenever they find out what has happened to them,
Oh, before we get off the first word, the first chapter of the official Ruby Shonen Jump manga is available on the Viz app. I just read it a couple hours ago, and it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. They change a lot of stuff around, like Ruby's a lot more developed, honestly. They cut the fight short with Roman. They don't show Cinder or anything, and they go immediately from Ruby meeting Glinda, like just seeing her, to Ruby and Yang on the airship traveling to Beacon and getting the exposition out that way of, you skipped Signal and blah blah blah, skipped 2 years of school and got in, and they showed her interaction with Ozpin through flashbacks, which helps to establish better that Ruby, spaces out and that kind of, and is kind of absent-minded and everything. And her interaction with Weiss is way better because Ruby tries to stand up for herself but isn't very, very good at it. And Weiss says something like, "Go home to mommy," or something. And, you just,
So this is like the manga version of the first volume?
It's the manga version of the first volume, but it's just the little ways they change it's amazing what you can do with framing and sequencing and how you compose a story with the same elements, but just moving things around. they had Ozpin ask Ruby, why do you want to become a huntress? And, and that, but it was shown in flashback, so it kind of just kept coming up as a theme throughout the whole chapter, as opposed to just being just something she just says, so it kind of becomes like an important theme of her character.
Yeah.
So, no, I would really recommend reading that, because I'm gonna have to say the manga is better than the anime. It has the hindsight of knowing the characters better because of all the development they've had, so they can look back at that early development with that kind of foresight in mind.
Yeah.
And also there's just things that I think you can get across better in a single frame that you lose over multiple frames, like just the shot of Ruby whenever it's a very anime thing to do, but I don't think it sells as well in moving media as it does in still media, to have like that close up sad eye face, see the expression of even if you don't know the story, I feel like her making the mom reference and then Ruby just going blank after that, be like, oh, there's something up there.
Yeah.
But highly recommend. Very well done.
Have you read the other mangas they have out in the stores right now for them?
I read the first one, which was basically the trailers and like a little fanfic story. I don't remember it that well. It was pretty good. Been trying to avoid too much Genlock. Waiting until all the character trailers are done and binge them, and because I don't want to spoil my hype.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I'm excited for the series to come out, but I'm not necessarily following every single bit of info that's released.
Because after
No, I was thinking.
if they do it like they did this year, then after Ruby we'll get Nomad, or the first half of Nomad, and then RVB, and then Genlock will come out in there somewhere in that time frame, I think.
You said in January.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's probably going to be Ruby. They'll probably use Ruby to springboard Genlock, honestly, like the last few, because Ruby has 14 episodes, and it's going to take Christmas and New Year's off. So they'll have a 2-week break, and then they'll have the rest of the season. So, yeah, they'll have probably the last couple weeks of January will be when Genlock comes out. And we will be here to break that down for you on the first word. And we'll be right back. And welcome back. So, Sony might have taken the next steps towards building its own Marvel universe.
Why?
Well, I don't know if why is...
Do they have any competition in that arena? Let me think.
I mean, who's building a better... Here's the question. Here's the poll for this week. Who's building a better Marvel universe? Sony or DC?
Answers in the comments below.
Yeah. I'm actually going to have to argue DC personally. While the characters are different, they're obviously paying homage to the characters and the narrative devices in the MCU. And if you just replace Batman with Iron Man and Superman with Captain America, I mean, Batman vs Superman Civil War, it's the same movie.
It is the same movie, shot for shot. Once again.
Yeah, but done as a matter of respect, not of just cashing in. Sony, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Apparently, according to Variety's Justin Kroll, Sony has set release dates for 2 upcoming films based on Marvel characters. theorizes these dates are for Morbius Living Vampire and the as yet unannounced Venom 2.
Okay.
Saying that Sony dates 2 untitled Marvel spin-offs. First is a non-sequel opening July 10th, 2020. Second is a sequel opening October 2nd, 2020. So if he's right, then there's only been one movie unless we're going to get something surprise in the meantime, so that sequel would have to be Venom 2, which
Venom was good, but
Venom was okay.
Have you simmered down on your opinion of Venom?
I mean, I haven't seen Venom again to formulate my opinion of Venom. I've only seen it once, so I can only go off of memory. Memory is untrustworthy.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't like to judge things just based on my memory. If it's just been a long time, or I've only seen it once. My first impression of Venom was it was more enjoyable than I thought it would be, but even on first watch, it felt barely stitched together.
That's fair.
Like, it felt like it wasn't a good film that holds up on multiple rewatches.
Oh, yeah. No, I did. Yeah.
But I will...
I saw it twice.
I will make a...
You did.
I will make
What do you think
a...
about it?
I liked it better the second time than I did the first time. That was probably because I didn't have a good viewing experience the first time.
Okay.
But I'll make a bolder judgment on that once it's out and I can actually watch it.
I think it was good enough to warrant its own existence. I don't know if I'd give credence to a sequel so much on the merit of the first one.
Well, I think it's like learn to crawl before you walk, and either go the sequel route or go the connected universe route. But having a line of Venom movies that are tangentially connected to these other characters, like Venom is one of those characters that, like the Joker, you don't have to have Batman in a Joker movie. They're well enough established in at least in the demographic you're going for. Not really in the general public, but they're established well enough to be able to carry themselves. I don't think that Morbius can. I really don't think that Craven can. It's not...
I bet Morbius can, surely on the merit that American audiences seem to like vampires.
That's true. Is that still a thing, though?
I think it's still a thing. I think it's just like you get tapped out on it after a while, and then it comes back. I think we've had enough time since Twilight for people to give a shit about a vampire again.
Right.
I don't know if it'll be this vampire, but
yeah,
it's always one of them every few years.
Vampire the Masquerade completely different than technically we're talking about, but Vampire still is becoming a huge hit. They just released a new volume.
Vampire?
Yeah, but it's like
it's
like a LARP, but for like people who want to only do vampire stuff in LARP.
You know what? I would honestly much rather see if Sony's going to do this is like instead of a Morbius the Living Vampire movie or a Venom sequel, make Venom versus Morbius the Living Vampire.
That's cool.
Or Venom and Craven the Lost Hunter or whatever. Like those old style like... I feel us getting more likes. He's coming back.
Yeah. You gotta believe he's like Tinkerbell.
But like even if like in those old serial kind of movies, even if the title character is only used as a certain point of reference and only used in a few scenes, and have to be like you don't have to make Eddie Brock and Venom the main focus. You could make Craven the main focus because I think that character is strong enough to carry a good story. I just don't think that
you could generate the interest in
yeah, exactly. And I think that without having Spider-Man there, then you really have to focus on Craven, but you also need to give him some kind of something to play off against, like something to be hunting. And I think
Venom would be
Venom
choice.
would be a great choice for that.
Yeah.
But like just
I've hunted the most dangerous game on this planet. I want to hunt the fucking alien beasts.
Tie all of that in together and tell it through the storyline that you've established that people seem to be taking an interest in, as opposed to having all this sprawled out because, yeah, that's what Marvel's doing, but they played the long game, and, you know, they just peppered little things in there that really at the time didn't feel like much more than the little nods to Metropolis that are in the Schumacher and Burton Batman movies. You know, like it didn't seem before Avengers how connected everything was going to be, and they built it slowly and established the main characters and everything. And Sony's doing the same thing that DC did, it seems, which is you got one thing kind of right. I mean, well enough to warrant its own existence at least. And then but the next, everything else you are doing now seems like, why? Like you're not really learning from the mistakes made before you. Are you kidding? And this Scout. Anytime there's a problem with the audio, look at the camera. Anytime there's a problem with the audio, or there's a shadow in front of the camera, this is it. Sit down.
The entire time, I bet in her head she was just screaming, "Fight me!"
So, I think that's about all there is to talk about this week. Like I said, we talked about Fantastic Four. The latest Elseworld preview shows us what a real god can do, but we don't really cover that here that much, so it's gonna be kind of out of left field.
Ooh, teaser images from Watchmen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. HBO's Watchmen releases 2 new teaser images. The cryptic images featuring masked police officers have been posted to the official Instagram account for... Okay, blah, blah, blah. It's just pictures of cops.
Shit.
Yeah. Blue lives don't matter. Anyway, so that's...
Controversial end.
That's true. I don't want to discredit the... what are they called? The fucking blue people in...
Smurfs.
Yeah, the Smurfs of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the blue people of Appalachia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, East Kentucky blue people. How does that... That's crazy. That exists. Those people have blue skin. I feel like a racist now. It's not what I'm getting at. Although, now I do understand why people were amazed whenever they saw people of different color for the first time. Because, like, seeing a blue person to me must be like what seeing a white person was like to somebody who was being invaded.
I don't know, though, because, like, to me, there seems to be, like, a certain continuity of color between people. Typically, though,
it seems that way now. It's like all on one color spectrum.
Yeah, but like, it's like
blue
it's like a red brown fucking color spectrum.
Right.
And then there's blue, which I mean, if you happen to be, I don't even know what the fuck is.
If you're a blue person,
yeah,
that's fine, right?
Yeah, if you're an Azul American.
It's the first I'm hearing that any of this.
And thank you for watching Fandom Nonsense. Hit the fucking like and subscribe button, and comment down below. We'd actually love to talk to you and hear about your experience.
Please.
And my laptop just died, so we can't really talk about anything else. So, bye.